I think the Ohio State quarterback situation may be very similar to last year's, and that might have some people worried. Plus, did Ryan Day take a shot at Jim Harbaugh this week? I think so. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and a play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. We're going to take a look at the Ohio State quarterback situation. I think there's some similarities to last year's offseason. It might make people nervous. Plus, I think Ryan Day took a shot at Jim Harbaugh. Lisa Bluder at Iowa getting more money. Contract moving on. It's good. And our Big Ten Classics coming up this weekend on the Big Ten Network. Look, we'll get to the Ryan Day possibly taking a shot at Jim Harbaugh story in just a moment. But yesterday, Locked On Big Ten, we did a deep dive on the Michigan quarterback situation. Well, what about Ohio State? They got spring football going on as well. And I think Ohio State is in a much more enviable situation at quarterback than Michigan right now. You look at the depth chart. You got Will Howard, lots of playing experience. Devin Brown, Julian Sayin, Aaron Nolan, Lincoln Gainholtz, guys with experience, and plus the 2 5-star freshmen that I just mentioned. So 3 guys played last year. Will Howard played a lot at Kansas State before he transferred. Devin Brown played some behind Kyle McCord. And by the way, don't forget Devin Brown was once a 5-star recruit as well. There's still some untapped potential there. Lincoln Gainholtz, he played in the bowl game. And of course, the other 2 5-star freshmen are ready to give it a go here at the next level. We'll talk about them and their individual competition in just a moment. So where are we in Columbus in the middle of spring football at quarterback? According to some, it's deja vu all over again, and that Devin Brown is battling with Will Howard, just like he battled with Kyle McCord last year. And there doesn't seem to be separation or a clear-cut starter just yet. It's early. I get it. But is this because Brown is just better than some people think? Or does it mean that Howard, maybe a little bit like McCord last year, is not head and shoulders above anybody else? I know it was a frustrating situation for Buckeye fans at the beginning of last year. It worked out for the most part throughout the year until the fourth quarter of the Michigan game. But for overall, it worked out. And McCord was the right guy to be the starter last year. And then we've been talking about this a lot here on Locked On Big Ten, but let's talk about Howard some more because what we've discussed about him since he's come over from Kansas State is he's not the flashiest passer on earth. He does not have wow factor when he passes the football. He's not that accurate if you go back and look at his statistics. However, he is big, burly, good size. He did run for 19 touchdowns at Kansas State. Look, I'm not going to say he's like Tim Tebow around the goal line, but he has a weapon there. That is something they can use this year at Ohio State. One good piece of news about him over the weekend, he got to take his black stripe off of his helmet. For those of you that are not diehard Buckeyes fans, when you come to Ohio State, you have to cover up your scarlet stripe on your helmet. Then you have to prove yourself. And you get to remove the black stripe from the middle of your helmet. Those of you watching on video here can see the picture of the difference between the two, one with the red helmet, one with the black. And you get to show off that scarlet red stripe on your helmet. It is a rite of passage, and it means you are officially accepted as a Buckeye. So he got to do that here over the weekend. So things are progressing nicely for him, if you will. So let's talk about the rest of the guys a little. Let's talk about the 2 5-stars. The freshmen, Julian Sayin and Aaron Nolan. Aaron Nolan has long been committed to Ohio State. He never wavered from his commitment, even after the bowl game when things could have gone sideways with the commits. Nolan said that he wanted what Ryan Day offers and what he has seen Ryan Day do with other quarterbacks who are now in the NFL. Then Nick Saban retired at Alabama. And the Crimson Tide commit Julian Sayin decided to go to Ohio State at that point in January. He was comfortable with Bill O'Brien, who had just been named offensive coordinator at Ohio State. Bill O'Brien was at Alabama. He was the one that recruited him to Alabama. But with Saban gone, he wanted to go somewhere else. And so he went and followed Bill O'Brien to Ohio State. And almost as soon as he got there and unpacked his bags, O'Brien bolted and was only there for 3 weeks because he then took the head coaching job at Boston College. Still, throughout all that, Aaron Nolan did not waver. He said, bring it on with the two of us. 2 5-star freshmen. We will battle it out and bring out the best out of each other. Now, I admire that in a kid for having that attitude in a day and age where kids hit the transfer portal. The first minute they sniff some competition for their job. So I like that about him. It does cause me to pause for a moment, though. Why would Ohio State bring in Sayin when they already had Nolan? There could be 2 answers to that question. First of all, number one, there's no guarantee that Nolan pans out and plays like a 5-star. You always got to have another plan, right? I just mentioned Devin Brown was a 5-star, and he can't crack the starting lineup yet. Maybe Ohio State and Ryan Day, they feel like Sayin will be better than Nolan. Maybe that's another answer. It's still way too early. The situation will pan out over time, and it's an interesting quarterback room at Ohio State. By the way, speaking of Ryan Day, let's talk about him for just a moment. Even though Jim Harbaugh is off to the NFL, I think he took a shot at Jim Harbaugh. Both of those have been going at each other subtly and not so subtly over the years. We remember when Ryan Day once said that he's going to hang 100 on Michigan, right? 100 points. We remember when Jim Harbaugh said some people are bored on third base and think they've hit a triple. Well, this has been going on for some time between these two. Well, Day was doing an interview, and he was talking about his new running backs coach, Carlos Loughlin, who's coming from Oregon to replace Tony Alford, who left for Michigan. He said regarding Loughlin, like some of us in the profession, he came up not in a football family, but grew up and kind of had to figure it out on his own, quote unquote. Well, Harbaugh grew up in a football family with his dad. And of course, Harbaugh's brother coaches the Ravens. So there's no doubt the Harbaughs are a football family. Is there any doubt that Ryan Day was talking about Jim Harbaugh there? I think he was. I think he's having a little fun. What do you think? Hey, if you like what you're seeing day in and day out, we're here every day on Locked On Big Ten. Be sure to subscribe and, of course, tell your friends about us. It's got another nice picture of Ryan Day up here, by the way. Subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. And that way you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. So please subscribe, click it. Nothing else required of you. It is free, and you are good to go and get you in our Big Ten club. Glad to have you. So anyway, we have more Final Four news. Lisa Bluder getting more and more money at Iowa because she's doing so well. And we'll talk about that a little bit. And we do have some more football news. I mean, we're heavy into spring football. We're going to check in on Camp Randall. What's going on with Wisconsin up at Madison with their quarterback situation? We're going to check in with Bloomington to find out what's going on with their quarterback situation. Actually, a deeper quarterback room in Bloomington, Curt Cignetti, than you would think. So all that is coming up in just 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. The sports calendar is absolutely loaded right now. And FanDuel's making it even more exciting to get in on the action because right now new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 that you can use to bet the tourney, what's left of it. Major League Baseball, that's just getting started. NBA, by the way, playoffs are right around the corner. NHL, same thing. All that is available to you through FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first big bet a big win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. I got some action for you here. Thursday night tonight, NBA. Warriors and the Rockets, take the over in that game. Hawks and Mavericks, take the over in that game. I like the Clippers over the Nuggets. Tigers, baseball, first 5 innings versus the Mets. Mets can't score anything. Neither can the Tigers, but they'll be better than the Mets. And the Cards over the Marlins overall. Take all that to the bank. Again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Check it out. Well, thank everybody for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe. Really, really helps us out. We're going to make our push to 8,000 subscribers before you know it. You can share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget to check out our website. You get some Big Ten merch, pennants, hats, shirts, tickets, all right there. It's talkbig1010.com. Hey, speaking of quarterback situations, we were talking about Ohio State just a minute ago. Everybody's got a quarterback situation going on right now. At Wisconsin, Miami transfer Tyler Van Dyke and Braden Locke, who has been there. They've been splitting first-team reps during spring ball under the watchful eyes of offensive coordinator Phil Longo and head coach Luke Fickell. Longo says it's an open competition. And Fickell says, though, that Van Dyke, since he's come in, he wants him to come out of his shell a little bit, man. Let it rip. That's what he wants. If he can do that, it might give him the leg up on the starting job and make him more like a leader, like last year's Tanner Mordecai, according to the coaches. Certainly, Locke's familiarity with the offense gives him the advantage in the spring. But Van Dyke has got 28 starts under his belt at Miami, far and away more than Locke has ever had. You'll also have Nick Evers, maybe Mabry Mature on the roster as well. They all need more time to develop. So Van Dyke can come in here this year. I don't want to say a Band-Aid. I just perform. Come in and perform. Buy everybody else a year time to develop a little bit. They'll take a lot of pressure off the younger guys. Any improvement at quarterback would be a big lift for the Badgers. They were 72nd in the country in passing yards and 108th in passing efficiency last year. And believe it or not, they only had one game with over 300 yards passing. That air attack never really developed last year. Van Dyke, on the other hand, topped 300 yards 11 times in his career at Miami. That's exactly what the Badgers need here. So that's their quarterback situation. How's the quarterback battle going in Bloomington, Indiana, with new Indiana head coach Curt Cignetti? Well, they got a few guys. There's redshirt senior Curtis Rourke. He was the one that transferred in from Ohio, and he's former MAC Offensive Player of the Year, so that's a good resume. Redshirt sophomore Taven Jackson. He played in 6 games for the Hoosiers last year after transferring from Tennessee. True freshman Tyler Cherry. I'm going to come back to him in a minute. He is in the mix. There's also Brock Lowry, who redshirted as a true freshman last year. And then there's also James Madison commit Alberto Mendoza, who's following Cignetti to Bloomington, but he will be a summer enrollee and probably be a little bit behind. Obviously, Rourke has the most experience by a lot. He played in 36 games and started 33 of them. He had a great 2022 with 25 touchdowns and just 4 interceptions. Completed 69% of his passes and threw for 296 yards a game. Very good, but he suffered an ACL tear late in the year and it affected his entire 2023 season, but he's better now. And, and nevertheless, it's been a long time since Indiana has seen a quarterback put up stats like he put up in the MAC. Can he do it in the Big Ten? That is the big question. Cignetti has a good track record of developing quarterbacks over his career. Same with offensive coordinator Mike Shanahan. So there's something to be excited about. There's also a true freshman that Cignetti signed right away. He's from Indiana, from Center Grove. And he's kind of the one that everybody is whispering about, even though he's just a true freshman. He's 6'5". He's already put on 15 pounds already since arriving in Bloomington. Less than 10% body fat, pure athlete. Won the state title as a junior at Center Grove. That's up there in Indianapolis, for those of you who are not familiar. Threw 56 touchdown passes last year. But Cignetti says, look, this job's going to be won on the field, so let her rip. We got spring football. We got all summer to figure it out. But that's a pretty decent quarterback room in Bloomington. They have not had that in a while. All right, onward and upward to other things. Let's talk some Iowa women's basketball. And Lisa Bluder, of course, their head coach, got the team to the Final Four. You know what happens when you get a team to the Final Four? You trigger bonuses in your contract. She got a $100,000 bonus for reaching the women's Final Four. In fact, she's hit $310,000 in bonuses this season alone. Her Final Four appearance also triggers an automatic 2-year extension and a salary raise of $150,000 beginning next season. And with the extension and the raise, the added value to her contract is nearly $3.7 million. She's been the head coach at Iowa since 2000, almost as long as Kirk Ferentz, believe it or not. She's won the Big Ten twice, the conference tournament 5 times. Her career includes prior stops at Drake and the NAIA level as well. And all combined, Bluder has a record of 888 wins versus 394 losses. That's incredible. Hawkeyes taking on UConn in Cleveland on Friday night, tomorrow night, for the Final Four. Looking forward to that a lot. Speaking of Iowa, let's jump over to the men's team for just a second. Remember player Tony Perkins this past year? He was a second-team All-Big Ten selection, and he's in the transfer portal, and he has narrowed his landing spot to 6 teams. Arkansas, Indiana in the Big Ten, Missouri, where he's already taken an official visit, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Oregon. Indiana is interesting. I'll get to that in a minute. He's 6'4", and he's got one more year of eligibility left. He's averaged 14 points per game, 4.6 assists per game, 4.4 rebounds per game, and 1.6 steals per game last season. Played 31 minutes per game. Now, he's got a lot of experience. He's played in 126 games for the Hawkeyes, but he's from Lawrence North in Indianapolis. And I just wonder if he might look at Mike Woodson and what he's done getting guys ready for the NBA, even though they had a down year this year. Would he go to Indiana this year? Indiana has like a half a dozen scholarships available. So we'll see. It could be a very, very interesting situation. Hey, if you're around the house all day, or maybe you work from home and you got the TV on in the background, maybe you watch Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV, all the talking heads, the pundits, you got to turn down the volume, right? You got to give yourself a break. It's like a nail through your head. All the screaming and arguing. You could switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7. It's on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. I'm going to tell you more about that in a minute, by the way. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, we on Thursdays always like to take a look ahead to the weekend on the Big Ten channel and show you their Big Ten classics that they have and live action. Got a lot of interesting stuff going on. That's all coming up in 1 minute. So hang on. I'm going to show you what you need to see right here on Locked On Big Ten. So Fire TV is your destination for sports. From live games to highlights to in-depth analysis, Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick. You can plug it right into the side of your existing TV, and that provides you access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's the opening month of the baseball season, the remainder of the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. And Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos of your favorite sports teams and brands and news, all for free. And that includes us here at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into the game analysis, highlights, and everything you can think of. Keep you up to date on the latest in the world of sports. And, the NBA playoffs are coming up, NHL, Major League Baseball season, not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking, has it all right there. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. And if you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Take it from me. To learn more, go to Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. That's Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. All right, it is time now to look ahead to the weekend and find out what we want to watch as we check out the Big Ten Network. A lot of stuff getting you ready for Final Four action. It's going to be a big TV weekend with Purdue in the Final Four for the men and Iowa for the women. So let's check this out. We're going to go full screen for you and let you know. If you're on audio only, we will describe it in detail. And we'll start off with Friday, April 5th. Pick up the action at 11 a.m. Eastern Time in Iowa Basketball Classic. The 2023 Women's Final Four game, the semifinal game, Iowa versus South Carolina. Caitlin Clark, her usual amazing self, scored 41 points in this game as the number 2 seed Hawkeyes won over the number 1 seed South Carolina, 77-73. So you can check that out again at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time on Friday. At 1:10 p.m. Eastern Time, Friday, they got Big Ten Live, and they're going to show you the North Carolina State men's basketball press conference as they get ready to take on Purdue in the Final Four. And in equal time, coming up 1 hour later at 2:10 p.m. Eastern Time, Big Ten Live goes to the Purdue press conference. Matt Painter and company. I'm sure Zach Edey will be there as well. And then at 4 o'clock, it's an Iowa Basketball Classic, the 2024 Women's Big Ten Championship game between Iowa and Nebraska. Caitlin Clark had 34 points in that one. Hannah Stuelke had 25. It went overtime, remember? Yeah, Iowa had a tough time with that game. Iowa won 94-89 in overtime for their third straight Big Ten championship. And then at 6:30, it is Big Ten Live, the women's Final Four pregame. Actual game will air on another network, but they'll set you up with the pregame at 6:30 Eastern Time, Iowa and UConn, getting you ready for that Final Four game for the women. Now, on to Saturday, April 6th on the Big Ten Network. We'll pick it up here at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. They have their Big Ten basketball in 60, where they got all the highlights edited down to 60 minutes. It's from 2021. Purdue played North Carolina State in basketball in that game. Trevion Williams had 22 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists as the number 1 Boilers won in overtime, 82-72. Really pulled away at OT in that one. At 2 o'clock, a Purdue Basketball Classic from 2023, Purdue versus Arizona. Fletcher Lawyer in that one, 27 points. Braden Smith, 26. If I remember correctly, they were raining threes all over the place. They didn't even need Zach Edey's tallness. Boilers won 92-84. Arizona was ranked number 1 in the country at the time. Then at 3 o'clock on Saturday, Purdue Basketball Classic from 2024. It is Purdue at Illinois. This was in March, late in the season. This is where the Boilers wrapped up the regular season Big Ten championship. Zach Edey had 28 points. Fletcher Lawyer, 16, as the Boilers won that game 77-71, claiming that title. And then at 4 o'clock, Big Ten Live, it is the men's Final Four pregame before it's shown on another network. But they'll get you all set up at 4 o'clock with all the pregame hype before the Boilers take on North Carolina State. And then Sunday, we go to, let me get that so you can see it on the screen. 12 o'clock, picking it up with Big Ten basketball in 60. This is repeated many times throughout the day, and they'll bounce back and forth between the Purdue, North Carolina State from Saturday and Iowa versus UConn on Friday, just multiple times, but you can catch it at noon to start you off with. So that's what's going on the Big Ten Network this weekend with classics and live action. Wanted to share all of that with you right here. Hey, guys, many ways for you to interact with me on Twitter or X at TalkBig10. Don't forget our website, talkbig1010.com. And you can also hit me up on comments on YouTube as well. No matter what you do, please ask you to subscribe. It's free. It's quick. It's the click of a button and get you in. We're in the same boat. We're in the same club. You can follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Lockdown Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. We hit the airwaves with the audio at about 4 a.m. Eastern time every day. The video on YouTube is available at 6 a.m. just in time for your drive to work. You'll be all good to go. After this episode, feel free to watch another one right after it. More Lockdown Big Ten. Check out yesterday's. If you didn't want all the Ohio State stuff today, by the way, I hope you Buckeye fans enjoyed it. We did a Michigan deal on their quarterbacks yesterday. It's all there. And you can go to our website at talkbig10.com, and everything is also there chronologically, going back into time since we started this thing back in June, or it's grouped by your favorite school, your favorite teams. Easy to find if we're kind of focusing on your team that particular day. So check all of that out. And after all that, feel free to check out Locked On's offering of the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube called Locked On Sports Today. You'll enjoy that as well. We're going to head into the weekend here tomorrow. Hope you check us out on Friday. We'll get you ready for Iowa and their women's Final Four and Purdue for the men's Final Four. It's going to be a humongous weekend, and we always have an eye on spring football as well. It's all right here. Thanks for checking us out. I enjoyed our visit as always, and I can't wait till we meet again tomorrow. Tell a friend, bring a friend with you next time. Somebody from the Big Ten alum or whatever, they would enjoy this, I am sure. Thanks again for checking us out. We'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten.